Hello there, curious researchers. Today I want to talk about different ways of doing a PhD, because there is more than one way of doing a PhD. And what makes me say that? It's because a PhD is a process of 3 to 5 years. So there is absolutely no way that there's one single way of doing it. Yes, we do think about publishing papers, presenting on a conference, defending a PhD, and these are common trajectories that we're going to go through. But how we're going to get to there is going to be quite specific to you, to your circumstances, to your supervisor, which is part of your circumstances. So all of this is going to shape the way how you are going to do your PhD. So the trap that we fall into is thinking that every PhD is the same. And then we compare ourselves to people around us. And we imagine the experience that they are going through. So we compare ourselves to the image of what we think they're going through. And maybe the easiest example is to take, two people who are working with the same supervisor, and they have a totally different experience. And you could say that they have the same supervisor, maybe they have a similar topic, maybe they're working on the same project, but their experience is totally different. So it is really not fair to compare two people, two experiences, and even like two different steps in the PhD. Because we only see the result of it. We have no idea what is the internal landscape of that person. For somebody, it might be super fun to make a presentation, but terrifying to present it. For somebody else, it's very boring to make a presentation, but super exciting to present it. So there are different internal experiences. And this is something that I talked about in one of the previous episodes, where I talked about comparison through journaling, and that it's only fair to compare to ourselves from before 1 month, or from ourselves from yesterday or a year ago, and see how it was for you, the same experience, but how it was a year ago. And another thing that I want to bring here is that you play a major role in finishing your PhD, in going through all of these experiences, but your circumstances play a huge role as well. And let's not forget, faith or universe or God, call it however you want, this also plays a role in how you are getting somewhere or not getting somewhere. So yes, the effort that we are going to put into something, the dedication that we are going to put into something are largely going to determine where we're going to end up. Because if we don't put any effort and only rely on circumstances and faith, and only sit on the couch and expect to finish our PhD, this is not going to happen. But also we can put all the effort and work 16 hours a week and think that this is going to bring us till the end, and there can be circumstances that are going to prove us wrong. So I just want to bring that it's great to have some grace towards ourselves. Now, what does it mean that there is more than one way of doing a PhD, and what does it mean for you? It means that you can shape it. But the most important thing is to understand why you are doing your PhD. Because when there are moments that are difficult and this motivation is not clear, then it's not going to be so easy to continue. So if you understand why you came here to do a PhD in the first place, maybe it was to move to another country to experience working in that lab. Maybe it was working with that professor. Maybe it was because of the topic. Maybe it was because you wanted to work in that specific consortium. Who knows? So you do know what is the real motivation why you wanted to do it. Maybe it was to prove to yourself that you can do a PhD. Maybe it was to put PhD behind your name. If that is your motivation, there is nothing like right or wrong. It is your driver. But it's important to understand what your driver is. Then another thing is because you are going to be working in a group. You are going to be working with a supervisor. It's also useful to discuss with your supervisor and see if you're on the same page. So imagine that you want to have an industrial-like experience. For example, for me, this was very important to have something practical, and that's why I have chosen industrial PhD, where I spent 1 year at university and 3 years in a company, because I also wanted to see 2 different environments. I wanted ultimately to decide, okay, do I prefer this work in a company? Do I prefer the work at university? Even though, of course, not every company is the same, not every university is the same, not every group at university is the same. But gives you and gives me a glimpse of how it looks like. So discussing with your supervisor what you want is very important, because then you can understand if you're on the same page and if you can get support from this person and or not. So it's good to understand this and not assume that immediately we are going to get support and we have not even communicated clearly what is it that we want. So for example, it might be that your supervisor is not the expert in the specific topic that you are interested in. And that's great. Like, if you understand that, then you can identify that you need an expert in that specific topic that you're interested in. And this will maybe open doors for new collaborations. This will maybe foster new papers. This will maybe bring you to a group where you're going to do your postdoc afterwards. Or maybe you're going to figure out that you do not want to work with these experts. Whatever it is going to be a learning. And once you have communicated and understood what is the path where you want to go, and see if your supervisor can support you there, it's also important to have regular check-ins. So often what happens is that once a year we discuss during a yearly review how the year went, what was good, what was not good, what do we want to do for the next year. But why not do it more often? I mean, nobody says that 1 year is a perfect timing. Maybe in 3 months you realize that you absolutely want to work in another institution and it is not happening. So why wait another 9 months before you can discuss with your supervisor? Just bring it up immediately, because you also never know what are the opportunities that are arising in the coming 9 months. It doesn't mean that your wish is going to be fulfilled immediately, but just voicing that wish and saying, hey, I would really like to work in another institution and see if there is a possible company that would be interested in this kind of work, already puts a seed between you and your supervisor to start thinking in that direction. And then in the coming period, whatever opportunities come, then this seed that was planted is going to be growing, and then you can see if something can really grow out from there. Or maybe you realize that your supervisor keeps forgetting about this, but actually wants to help you. So then you can remind your supervisor. So there is more than one way of doing a PhD, and it depends on what you are comfortable with at this point, what you're going to be comfortable with in 1 year. It depends on your supervisor now, on your supervisor in 1 year from now, because this person is also going to change a bit, the way you change as well, and the relationship is going to change. It's going to be different. It doesn't mean that it's going to be better or worse, it's just going to be different. So enjoy this ride, even though it might sound scary. It's actually it brings a lot of learnings on the way. So if you can manage to enjoy those moments even when you fail and it sounds very dramatic, then you are going to be proud standing at the end when you are holding your diploma. So yeah, coming back to the initial thing, the things that we do during the PhD are going to be outside looking very similar. We are going to publish papers, we are going to present our work on conferences, we are going to defend our thesis, but how we are going to get there is going to be unique to us. And this is also going to be unique afterwards when you are looking for a job. Because when you're looking for a job, then you can emphasize on things that you have learned. Of course, they know that you have published papers because you're going to put them in your CV, but what did you learn in that process of writing papers? So maybe for you, it was very difficult to sit and concentrate for, 3 weeks on one thing and just write the paper. And then through this process, you have managed to extend your periods of concentration. And now it's your superpower that you can work uninterrupted. Even if there is chaos around, you can focus on one thing. Or maybe it was not clear to you how to structure it. And now you have understood how to structure the scientific paper, how to put that message out there. And now it's your superpower how to convert data into material that is easily understandable by a scientific community, or maybe more wider public community. Whatever it is, there is, in all of this pain, there is a gain. So there is something that you have gained from it, and something that is going to be your superpower, something that now seems that it's your weakest point, but especially that is our weakest point, is where we are going to put extra effort to come to the level where it seems normal, quote unquote. But just because you have put this extra effort to make it normal, you have debugged all the things that were problematic on the way, and now it becomes your superpower. Because for somebody who does it very easily, it is not a superpower because it comes naturally, quote unquote. And sometimes when you get things right first time, you don't understand. Well, all of us, when we get something right the first time, we don't go into the depth of understanding that specific thing. But when there's a problem, when there is a failure, when we have to do it again and again and again and again, then we really tap into what it really is. What's working, what's not working, what's blocking, where is it stuck? So this is where your superpower evolves. If you want to dive deeper and put all of these principles into practice, or if you have already been trying to implement them but you feel stuck, you feel like you are not moving, I invite you to join me in individual coaching. I am very excited to be working with people on this, and I welcome anything that comes there. So there is no right or wrong. There is no fail, because as I said, all the failures are going to be your superpowers. So I'm so curious to learn what your superpowers are going to be and where your failures are. And I invite you to book the discovery call in the link below. See you there.